of the Springbok.
Welcome back. Onto a very important subject now. So, according to the Progress in International Reading Literacy study, which evaluated the reading ability of 400,000 students globally in 2021, South Africa ranked last out of 57 countries that were assessed, with 8 out of 10 South African school children struggling to read by the age of 10. Now, the study showed that 81% of South African children could not read for comprehension in any of the country's 11 official languages. So to improve literacy in our communities, starting from this month, McDonald South Africa will be on a quest to donate over 1 million books to disadvantaged schools and early childhood development centers across the country. And to talk to us more about this initiative, we are joined in studio by Sechaba Motsieloa, who is the marketing director of McDonald South Africa. Sechaba, good to have you with us. Good morning. Thanks for coming through.
Good morning, Sakina. It's good to be here on International Literacy Day.
Indeed. And of course, so important for us as South Africa because unfortunately we are on the wrong side of this particular assessment globally. And what is it that McDonald's actually, would like to hone in on here?
I think on the positive side, we know where we are at. And we know we can build from the ground up. That is why donating 1 million books where it's needed, particularly to children, still right at the early and encouraging them to pick up reading broadly, not just the subject that are being taught in school, allows them to start to have that curiosity quite early in life. So we are right at the beginning to address the problem that we have just highlighted of literacy amongst young children in our country.
And I'm loving this because it's absolutely critical that children have access to reading material. However, studies have shown that when children grow up in environments where there is reading material, where people are reading, they are more likely to gravitate towards reading themselves. So where exactly do you want to locate all of these books, the 1 million books that you're starting off with?
I think a good start is to partner with the SABC, a platform that allows the message to get right across the country. We also have the National Library of South Africa that is helping us identify the schools that are in need, as well as Orlando Pirates Foundation, just to allow us to have the ability to distribute the books. So working with people that are closest to the communities and knowing where the need is helps quite a lot. We have restaurants across all the different provinces in the country, and we always encourage each restaurant to adopt a school, be closest to the community needs. And this will go a long way in ensuring that we do get the books into the hands of those millions of children so that they too can have an opportunity to be creative, to explore without having to physically go to some places indeed.
And I'm curious about the books, the selection of books that would be available to kids, because I remember way back in the day, in trying to entice my kids to read more. I would take them to an exclusive books and say, you choose any book. I don't care what it is. And I remember my daughter chose a book on the Kardashians. And I bought the Kardashians book because I didn't care what she was reading first and foremost. Yeah. I just had to get her to read.
Yeah, so, and also children do get attracted to their areas of interest, and that's why you have to have a broad selection of books. We also encourage people to donate books so that it does not become just McDonald's donating books, but a whole community. We used to have that saying that says it takes a community to raise a child. As a community, let's come together, donate books so that we can have access to this, as children can have to any books that they want. Not forgetting that you do also need to ensure that there are people who can help them read. Also, to, people particularly interested in that subject matter. That's why when you go, for example, to a McDonald's, we do find that we have already started making sure that when children have Happy Meals, they can also choose to have a book versus just the toy, and also creating spaces for reading to happen even in the restaurant. And it's been received quite well by children and families alike.
Is that already available with the Happy Meals?
It's already available since 2019. So you have the option to choose a book, and there is a nice selection of books with different interesting topics, particularly for children, so that we start that curiosity at a very early age.
And you know, you speak about the option being available with the Happy Meals. I'm just thinking of a situation whereby people perhaps go into the restaurant where the children are perhaps sitting in a play area. Have you perhaps thought of converting, or have you done this? Because see, I don't have kids that age anymore. So, you know, I'm not in that space.
There are family spaces within the different restaurants, depending on the configuration of the restaurant, that allows not just a play area, but an area where children can be able to sit down and read. And more restaurants will continue to have those spaces, because families are finding a different way to engage and to just relax, perhaps moving away from some of the digital devices while they're in the restaurants, to start again, as I said, the conversation, to take somebody on a journey based on a book. For myself, some of the best breakthroughs that I've had is reading other people's journeys through the books, and I know that that has built my foundation, as well as the curiosity around reading. So we are looking to increase that even at the restaurant level, but more importantly, going into the communities where you already have children in an education space, just to make sure that we bring capacity there with the partners that we are working with.
And speaking of going into the communities, the National Library, and you mentioned the Orlando Pirates Foundation. So talk to us about the role that they will be playing, because there usually is also quite a bit of outcry about the functionality of libraries in our communities. So what sort of role will McDonald's be playing in that regard?
I think it's about connecting the books with the targeted audience, being the children. So National Library of South Africa will be able to assist us to identify where there are ECD spaces that will require the book, so that it can go through there. If you look at the Orlando Pirates Foundation, for example, volunteers giving us the capacity to actually distribute the books, as well as receive books from people who also want to donate the books. So that partnership, together with the SABC, with this type of awareness, allows people to know that they too can make a contribution towards addressing the literacy that we just spoke about earlier, given the statistics that says in South Africa there is a big gap that still needs to be closed in terms of reading, not just for academic purposes, but for understanding, to spark that creativity that we need in our children.
And for entertainment. You know, I'm reminded, Sechaba, back at school, we used to actually exchange comic books amongst ourselves, you know, and that it takes me back to, you know, some of the earlier reminders of where that love for reading was inculcated, where, you know, you would have a whole class of children sitting quietly and reading because we had found something that we enjoyed.
Correct. That's why you also need to ensure that the competition between, are you on the screen or are you reading? You cannot say the child, don't be on the screen, when you have not given them the alternative. And also, when you read, you are able to imagine and see places. I personally have been to every place in the world, and in fact in the entire universe, because of books, because my imagination is triggered, and then I'm able to go into those spaces. The comics that you speak about, the ability to share, even in that sharing, there is that social cohesion, the ability to collaborate, perhaps work together, find common interest. You may find it later in life, you remember somebody who was particularly good, perhaps as a comedian and sharing, and then you may even want to work with that particular person. On the other side, the teachers also know that they have got the resources. They don't have to be wondering what else can we give the children, even though we know that there is a shortage. We still have to give them something to be able to read.
So just in terms of how broader society can get involved and assist. I mean, we're talking about 1 million books that will be distributed. You spoke about the Happy Meals, where you have the book offering as opposed to a toy where the children can actually choose. But how can South Africans, broadly speaking, get involved in this?
I think two things. The first one, just make sure that in the area where you reside, you are aware of where children are, and maybe go and donate the books there. If you need somebody to help in the distribution, we can receive the books in our restaurant, as I said, to be able then working with the National Library of South Africa, then redistribute the books to where they are best needed. The other thing with the people that come to our restaurant, as you buy your child the Happy Meal books and that they've taken, when they are done with them, similar to what you said earlier around your experience with distributing of the books, share the books. give them to somebody else who perhaps did not have the book, and borrow some, and then just make sure that as a country we work with an environment that makes book reading interesting, accessible, as well as fun, particularly for children.
Well, I must say I'm totally excited about this and can't wait to see this in action. And this, of course, an initiative by McDonald's. And Sechaba Motsieloa is the marketing director at McDonald's South Africa, sharing with us their impactful initiative, the work being done to improve literacy in our communities. And of course, do stay tuned to Morning Live for more updates on this important initiative. And always such a pleasure collaborating with McDonald's on some of the projects that we've done over the years here on Morning Live.